In this brief introduction, I've got a little board here with some lines here that are just guidelines to keep all my rows and columns straight. I've got these cute little rectangle tiles, and I'll do a separate video on how to make these yourself out of other tiles. And I'm also cutting these in an angle so that I can get them to go in a lovely circle. So I'll have a look at that as well, and then how to lay these tiles so that we get the right sort of spacing and everything straight. One of the first things you want to know about are things to cut with, of course. The nippers I like for these ceramics are my Lipponets, and I always have to remember, if I've done a lot of cutting of crockery, I need to turn the wheels a bit because the crockery makes them blunt. And the way you can tell is when you go to cut them, they sort of crush because they're blunt rather than nip. The other ones I really, really love for these are the Seabell ceramic scissors. These are great also for crockery, and they just work beautifully. So if I want to make one of these ones, oops, I'll pick the colour I'm actually using. If I want to make one of these ones, I'm actually pointing it slightly to the right. So I find the middle, and then I just give it a little tiny tilt so there's the smallest angle, and you always make sure that this is at 90 degrees to get a good cut, and then nip. And you get like the perfect cut. Looks like it was made that way. And then we'll look at how to glue those on. And with these longer pieces, we start off with, it's really, really easy. I'll pick some orange ones for here, a mix. You start off with a long one, half, long half. So this will be a long one next. So we put the one we need here and the one at the end. But I need to finish off this circle before I put the one at the end, and then hopefully the beginning and the end will meet. So you might end up with an extra half here and there, doesn't matter. And then we'll look at how do I glue that on so it's nice and easy. Then there's a half, and then another one. So you can see it just ends up like a brick design. Two things together with the grout line in the same way. The other thing I do when I'm gluing is I use my little pokey tools. Let me just find one from my little tool set. There's two I really like, this one and this one. And you'll see me using these as I lay these tiles down. So let's have a look now at gluing this bit here, and then we'll glue one of these lines. While I'm working, I have these little baby wipes handy to wipe my hands if I get all glue tack on them and end up with sticky fingers. And I put my glue in a little bag. You can do this for thin set or cement-based adhesive for those who use it. I haven't tried it with a little baggie, but lots of people say it works well for them as well. So now I want to do finish off this circular piece so I can do this and show you how it fits together, and then you'll go, oh my god, that's so easy, I can do this. So we cut all our little bits with all in the same direction on the little angle, and you can see they sort of a bit wider on the top than the bottom, and they sort of wider with a point facing to the right. So I call them righties. So all I'm going to do is a little squiggle of glue, not too much because we don't want it to squish up the inside, and there's enough there for it to squish over the bottom of the tile and cover it all up. So that wasn't too bad. Small hole, no mess. Big hole, big mess. And then we can just pop these on. I have to go slowly because I have little wonky old fingers. And this is where my tools come in handy. I need them because I bump a lot. Now's the time for my little tool. This is my favourite tool. So now I can line them up and press them into the glue quite well. Now the other thing you want to do is, this gives me also my grout width, because we don't want too little, the grout won't stick, and we don't want big spaces because we only do that on purpose. So the aim is to get smaller spaces, which are about, would you believe, 2 to 3 mil. You can see how this little point right here, and you have to look really closely. This is like incredible nitpicking, and you just give it a little nudge in, so it's not quite pointing this way, but into the circle. That just makes it smoother. A tiny little tip from a stonemason. I'll finish off this circle now. A nice close-up to see how I'm going to shape this bit to fit in here. We know that we want this to be a brick fashion. Let's do this one. Brick fashion. So we sort of vaguely place it there to look at the shape in here. So we know that I'm going to need to cut that off so it will fit probably a little bit more this way. First off, line it all up and give it a good quick nip, and then we should be right to fit in there. Just a quick check. I need to take just a weeny bit off, and it's actually the bit I drew that I didn't cut off, and I need to just nibble that off to get a better. So I'm going to pop the start and end of the line, depending on which you think is the start and which is the end. So just pop that one in, and I'll pop it in place with my trusty little poker. If your hands are really agile, you won't need to worry about this at all. So I'm just going to move that over, and see this is too narrow for the grout, so we get a nice even grout line all the way around. Okay, so the first part of this one is I like to start the opposite end. It just seems to be helpful. And just pop one in and make sure it's the distance you want from the edge. I'm going to tile this edge because it's got a foam board, and I really don't see any advantage to putting another layer of glue and cement over the top for this piece of work, of course. And then I'm going to use this nice little black matte tile that's going to create just a very gentle little frame all the way around this piece. I think it'll look really cute. So we do this one, and you can see my guideline is there, and you might even want to do just a long skinny worm. And then you can just lay your tiles. So I'm mixing them up because I really like little mixtures here. You can see how the texture is just so pretty. I'm introducing a blue that's going to be from here. I'm doing orangey sort of across there. Let's see how we go. I'm just really enjoying this mix. So same deal as for the centre. I'm just going to pop them all on roughly in place, and then I'm going to use my little poker to get them all back into the right shape. The earthy tones here with the warmer tones, because I sorted the bag out into all the dark bits, some lighter bits. So I ended up with blue and warm, earth, and sort of sky, airy type colours. So I thought, and of course, do your straightening up. I'm following this guideline here because my son can see straight lines really well. We know about those kids, and he'll give me a hard time if my lines aren't straight, especially by circles. It's good. Makes me do them properly. So you can see how that's nice and even. So I'll just keep doing this for a bit, and then I'll come back to you and show you how it looks when it's all done. I hope you like this background where I've done the lines going straight across here. Whoops. I'm all dirty because the hole here got bigger and I got glue all over me.